guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for all the love and support I received last week. It's not easy talking about this stuff. I wish it was. It's not, but I think it has to be done just for my mental health. It helps me talking about it, people, and I'm sure it helps other people too. So today I wanted to read out the letter that I'm sending to the hospital, Eastern Health, Parliament, because I don't want this to just be this secret thing that I'm going through. I know I talk about it a lot, but I have 6 pages of shit, and it's so fucked up when you read it. It's not right. So I wanted to read it in case there are other women going through something similar, or I've gone through something similar that were told it just like I was. It's just normal. It happens sometimes. Not much you can do about it. When, as I found out yesterday, it's not completely normal. It doesn't just happen. So I was induced on the 6th of August 2019, and since that date I have been in excruciating pain. After my son was born, I was advised I had a 2nd-degree tear and needed surgery. A team came in and a doctor named Anna performed the required sutures. My midwife became increasingly worried over the next few hours, as she wanted the doctor to look at something. At this point, I was not aware of how serious the issue was, as I was still on heavy pain medication and the epidural was slowly wearing off. After multiple calls to the surgeon that she did not answer, Anna finally came back to look at me. I was told I needed priority emergency surgery. Again, at this point, I was still not aware of how serious the issue was, and I was more upset the fact that I couldn't see my family. A few hours later, I was taken from my family and baby for surgery, where 1 litre of blood was drained from my left labia. After the surgery was completed and the stitches were put back in place, I had to wait over an hour to get back to my room. The doctor, Anna, had not written her notes and kept walking past and saying, "They're in my head." Once the notes were finally uploaded, I had to wait for someone to come from level 3 to collect me. At this point, I hadn't eaten since 6 in the morning and it was 11 p.m. I became frantic and I was inconsolable, crying for my partner and my baby. Until someone finally came down. She advised me that they had been doing a handover, which is fine, but that she had been told to do many other tasks before coming to collect me, and that I should have been told this. Unfortunately, my story does not end there. Once we were moved from the birthing suite to the suite I would be staying at until I was better, my son became ill and started to shake and scream. And after blood work and another stressful day, we were told he would be taken overnight to the special care nursery and he would be back the next morning. The next morning came and he did not return straight away, but we were not worried as we naively trusted the staff box hill. Our midwife came in at around 11 and advised us to our horror that he would not be coming back and was admitted to the special nursery. My partner and I wept and held each other as we prepared for the worst. Even after everything you have put me through, this is the worst thing you could have possibly done to me. Continuing with the lack of communication, each time a midwife would come in, they would give me pain medication. I received strong painkillers due to the severity of the pain I was in. This stopped suddenly and I assumed the staff had just forgotten. It wasn't until I was in excruciating pain that I realised that something was not right. I asked for painkillers and asked why they had stopped giving them to me. They advised me that I now needed to ask for it and would not be given at each visit. I was never told this, and it seems absolutely negligent to not advise the patient that the way they received medication was changed. 6 long days after we arrived at hospital, we were finally discharged, where 9 weeks of pain, tears, and appalling treatment occurred. I was given a script for painkillers and antibiotics, and after a week of using them, the pain grew increasingly worse. I would have to sit or lie down in a ball in order to alleviate the pain. In the first 4 weeks, I saw multiple doctors, and the diagnosis changed each time. from kidney infections to burst ovarian cysts. The doctors obviously suspected that I was just addicted to pain medication, as they tried to wean me off any strong medication and put me on Panadol for the pain I was in. At 4 weeks, I saw my local midwife, who advised me to contact the hospital for a review of the stitches, as it did not sound right. I was told when I left Box Hill that the door was always open for me and to call up whenever I needed to. So again, I called Box Hill and asked, who do I speak to for a review? They advised me to call the birthing suite. The birthing suites told me not to come in, as it did not sound serious or a hospital issue. I was directed again to a GP. Obviously, a GP doesn't know as much as anyone in the O&G area and only has limited time to help me out. I was recommended more antibiotics that were stronger and told to have blood work done. The pain, which I will now describe, is two different things. The first is the internal pain where the hematoma is, where it hurts to sit and it feels like a big painful bulge. The second, which no one seems to pay attention to still to this day, is a burning sensation where my labia was cut for drainage. It feels like fire whenever discharged blood or urine touches it. I called the birthing suite a couple weeks later, as I could not sleep due to the extreme pain that endo and could not stop or lessen. I was told not to come to the maternity level and to go to general emergency, as it had been way over the 10 days limit required to return to level 3. I realised then that the original statement advising me to come in whenever was a lie. I spent the day in excruciating pain, unable to seek help as my son was sick and had no one to look after him. Once my partner could finish work, I called Box Hill again to see if Angus would be able to take me, as it's closer. The first person I spoke to mumbled something, and the next lines I heard were the nurse on call line. Obviously, the nurse on call could not help me to see if another hospital would be able to help me. The nurse again suggested I do not go to hospital and that I seek help from a GP when I could. I called back to Box Hill and asked if Angus Hospital could take care of me. They said yes, and I went to the hospital as I felt it was necessary. I cried and cried in the emergency waiting room until I was finally seen to by someone. They did not seek help from the O&G department. The doctor named Esther gave me a script for tramadol and again told me to seek help from a GP when I could. Tramadol, endone, Panadine, Voltaren, Panadol and Nurofen did not lessen the pain or help me cope. I decided to seek help from a GP who was specialised in O&G, as I had a referral to a gynecologist that could take weeks to book an appointment. I saw a doctor, and within a few minutes she saw that the hematoma was still large, bleeding, and that this was where the pain was. She could not believe that Angus had not sent their O&G staff to see me and called Box Hill to organise an appointment for me. In the afternoon, I received a call from Anna, who advised me she was a doctor from Box Hill. I knew exactly who she was, as she was the one who had cared for me throughout my stay at Box Hill. I had an appointment booked, and my partner missed work in order to come with me. I saw a physiotherapist first at the hospital, who thought the pain might be nerve-related if no pain medication was helping. I saw Anna afterwards, who told me it was great to see me again, which made me cry. She mentioned the same about the nerve damage, but did not mention anything about the hematoma. I requested a second opinion, as I was sick and tired of hearing different opinions from each medical profession. The next, Dr. Jill, confirmed the same, but that this time she mentioned the hematoma. I was advised to get an ultrasound so that they could see what was going on, and given nerve damage medication, Lyrica. I broke down many times throughout the appointment due to Anna's lack of sympathy or empathy. It was evident that she did not see the pain for how bad it was, and she wanted to get the appointment done as quickly as she could. I became very suicidal after Anna told me that the recovery time was possibly 6 months, after originally being told by her 4 to 6 weeks. My partner went back to work and became home early, as I had sent some text messages, which made fear for my safety. I could not be by myself at that point, as I no longer wanted to live. I took myself and my sons and my families home. When I went to fill out the script later on, I was told Anna had not filled it in correctly and I could not get it. I broke down again at this point, as it was yet another failure. The ultrasound suggested by Anna was at the doctor's in a women's ultrasound in Camberwell by Dr. Andrew Edwards. And when I called to make an appointment, the receptionist said the doctor was not able to do what Anna had requested. I called Box Hill Maternity Reception again to speak to Dr. Anna regarding the issue. The staff had no idea who Dr. Anna was, and she said the midwife would call me back later regarding it. I missed the calls, but called back and spent another 45 minutes on the phone to Box Hill with a receptionist who refused to help. They did not know who called me and kept calling imaging, even though I advised that the scan was not to be done at Box Hill. I asked to speak to Anna so that she could tell me what to do, and they refused. Once the receptionist got back from calling Anna herself, she gave me some completely incorrect information that was related to something else and not about the ultrasound. I again asked to speak to Anna, even though the staff member said wanted to hang up and cut me off. And throughout the call, she asked me repeatedly whether I was calling the right place, the right hospital, even though I obviously have proof on my phone that I called the right place. After that, I got off the phone with her. I got a call back from the midwife, called me earlier and said she would call the doctor herself at Camberwell Ultrasound and get in touch with me on the 30th of September to confirm whether they could do the appointment, as the ultrasound would cost me $300. I ignored 2 calls from Anna because at this point I decided that Anna was no longer going to be involved in my healing. Her negligence and incompetence had already led to weeks of pain. On the 30th of September, no call from the midwife came to confirm the appointment. On the 3rd, I had my meeting with Stephen regarding a debrief of my labour. Stephen was the most incompetent human being I have ever talked to, and I would not recommend anyone going through any trauma to ever see him. He was confused as to why I needed the meeting at all, when I still had ultrasounds to go, and I told him it was booked in after, considering what had happened in surgery. Every time I told him about my pain and nearly broke down in tears, he changed the subject to how Jack was doing, without acknowledging anything I had said. My partner took over from me because he could see how distraught I was and he was getting angry. And again, Stephen did not respond to anything my partner had said. He just asked how Jack was. He advised me to send in a letter to the director of O&G to get things started. So here I am. I asked for Anna to be completely removed from me, as I believe she has made a mistake when I was originally in hospital that caused the hematoma and has continued to treat me poorly. After seeing Andrew Edwards and confirming what had happened throughout my issues with surgery and with birth, the ultrasound that I had from Camberwell Ultrasound confirmed that the stitches were not completed deep enough, and that's why the hematoma had occurred. It was not just because sometimes it happens or it's common. It was because someone stuffed up and the hospital has tried to cover it up. Looking at photos of my uterus is haunting. It looks like a cat has scratched it. It looks so damaged, and he advised the pelvic muscle was very damaged thanks to what had happened to me because of Anna's negligence. I will be getting this in writing to confirm that he has said that the stitches were not done deep enough. I cannot begin or even try to describe the pain I have suffered for 9 weeks and will continue to now suffer for months. The current medication helps with internal pain but does nothing for the burning pain. The doctor has... I don't even know what it is written. The doctor, Anna, and her staff have affected me both mentally and physically. I'm constantly crying and having suicidal thoughts. My partner and I aren't able to have sex as I'm so frightened of the pain which may occur. I struggle to have a relationship with my son as I feel resentment towards him. I no longer trust any medical profession due to the service I have received. I've spent the first 9 weeks of my son's life in complete agony because of the O&G team at Box Hill, and I would not wish any of this on my worst enemy. For this complete disaster, I am requesting and demanding compensation for medical services, time wasted, and the suffering your team have put me through. I request for all medicine I have had to purchase to be compensated, the ultrasound required to be compensated, my partner's time lost at work, petrol, my e-tag, any amount of money I've spent throughout this due to the hospital's negligence. And I'm also requesting an amount for the horror your O&G team has put me through. I also request a sincere apology on behalf of Box Hill and a thorough investigation to be completed on Anna and all those who looked after me. I have raised an ombudsman case who advised me to contact you first in order to come up with a solution. I expect to hear back from you within 2 weeks to confirm the investigation has started before I contact the ombudsman again. If we are unable to reach an agreement on the amount of compensation, I will take legal action against Box Hill. I wish for no one else to go through the pain and humiliation I continue to suffer. Your staff should take pain and the request for help seriously. If I did not have my son, my partner, my family, and my friends, my blood would be on their hands. I look forward to a response and a conversation regarding this. All I can do is hope that this letter does something. No one should have to go through this, and I hope people who watch this realize that birth is not just a linear line. I hope that anyone going through something like this speaks up about it or knows that it's not normal. And I hope that people who are going to give birth know that things may go wrong and that it will affect you in ways you have never even thought of before. I don't know who I would be if it wasn't for my partner, my baby. I don't know if I'd be here without the constant support of my friends and my families. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this can make a difference somehow.